in future as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Sethi, for joining us. Aditya Narayan is waiting by patiently. Aditya, from from a stock market point of view, is there any takeaway, or is it just on expected lines policy? And so now you move on and look at the non-farm payrolls.
In some ways, no news is good news for the equity markets, because the markets have generally been doing very well. So I think that from a starting point is how the equity markets will treat this. I'd say there are 2 or 3 things to look at. One, I think the fact that the RBI continues to look through inflation, not put up too many red flags around it, and the fact that it's generally very accommodative for an extended period of time. I think that plays through very well. I mean, obviously the markets are to some extent factoring this in, but the fact that there is a reiteration, I think will provide a certain amount of comfort. I'd say the second thing is that, with the RBI annual report, there was some talk about asset values, and typically when markets are so strong, there is always a risk that, the central bank talks about bubbles and about certain asset classes being overheated. I think you've got none of that. And to some extent, in fact, there's just been a reiteration that financial markets have been very orderly, which I think tends to play through pretty well. And I say the third thing is, a little bit more accommodation in terms of pushing credit. I don't think it really lies with the RBI. It is at the end of the day for the business cycle to pick up loan growth and to start showing through demand. But it helps in the fact that the RBI is conscious of the fact that you need loan growth to pick up. You need incremental economic activity to start. So I think in all, I'd say, again, as I said, no news is good news. The markets are doing well enough as they are. But generally the direction is right. And I think there should generally be comfort to the market that is already doing well.
Okay. All right. At least the bank stocks, moving on expected lines, there is a bit of profit taking, but I guess people are preparing also for the Friday effect from RBI, from Wall Street and the non-farm payrolls. All the Ujjivans and the Equitas and all are doing well. They are perhaps the likely candidates. Bank of Maharashtra, for instance, or Karnataka Bank, the last mile guys. Those stocks are doing well. One would assume that they are the people who could use this TLTRO window. Actually, we should be even looking at the NBFCs. They also can use the TLTRO window, other than PNB and Magma, which are in an orbit of their own. I don't see too much. AU Small Finance Bank is doing well. MMFSL is also up 1/3%. All of them will benefit because of the benefit they can access the window and provide succor to MSME contact-based sectors. Taimur, I wanted to ask you, the governor defended the Reserve Bank's excessive gross buys and gross sells and excessive positions in the FX market, the high premiums they paid, although they have come down crashing in the last 3 days. Any takeaways from all that he said?
If you were not going to ask me that question, I was going to bring it up.
Okay.
I think that the rupee, where it goes from here, is symptomatic of many emerging market economies, which are on one hand struggling with the pandemic, on the other hand dealing with an excess of inflows, is going to reveal. So India and INR is a bit of a canary in a coal mine, all the challenges that emerging markets are going to be facing going forward. Now, starting point is, of course, the US Federal Reserve's or US Treasury's currency manipulation, under which India is already under the monitoring list. And the way India's current account has sort of, quote unquote, improved because of a lack of imports, and the fact that the INR has not appreciated commensurate with the reserve accumulation, makes India ripe for further getting the depth of that monitoring list, if not being outright called for currency manipulation. So that's an issue. Now, in the greater scheme of things, US Treasury is going to be far less confrontational globally than it was under the Trump White House, because there was a lot of pressure to be tough on China and tough on others. So I don't think this is a huge headache for the governor or the central bank or India in general, but dealing with huge amount of capital inflows and what it means for domestic liquidity, what it means for the currency and competitiveness, is going to be a big problem going forward. You've had an economy that has suffered a huge growth shock. You want the terms of trade to adjust toward you favorably, which would entail a weakness of the currency. But as far as the RBI is concerned, the imperative is absolutely the opposite, which is to prevent further appreciation of the exchange rate. So there's a huge gap between what the economic fundamentals would dictate and what the markets are dictating. So I have my sympathies with the central bank on this issue.
Okay. Well, it was a nice way to explain all that. I'll just read out that paragraph to you. After the risk-off period of retrenchment in April-May, the prospects of capital flows to India are improving again. While these flows ease external financing constraints, they also impart volatility to financial markets and asset prices while producing undesirable and unintended fluctuations in liquidity and can vitiate the monetary policy stance. This has necessitated countervailing two-sided interventions by the Reserve Bank in spot, forward and futures markets to stabilize financial market and liquidity conditions so that monetary policy retains its domestic orientation and the independence to pursue national objectives. The national objective of declaring higher dividend is not mentioned, I would assume. Final thoughts from you, Amandeep. Anything at all? Would SDLs become attractive? What is the takeaway from a bond point of view?
I think for the bond markets, I would say there are quite a few positive takeaways from this policy. The fact that RBI has extended the GSAP into 2.0 for the next quarter indicates that they will be here to support the yield curve. So I guess the yield curve management, which began with the last policy, is here to stay, and that should give some comfort to the markets that you will not see any sudden spikes or extreme volatility in the long-term yields. The second part, I think, which is also a big positive, is the fact that on the liquidity front, there's been no attempt or move to tighten liquidity, which was a concern, if you recall, in the last policy. That, I think, is, again, an indication that you may see short-term yields also remain somewhat anchored in the range that they are at. On the SDLs, you're right. I mean, there will be definitely a momentary rally. I would not be surprised to see some bit of spread compression over the respective benchmark yields. And we need to see, how it really plays out. If you recall, a similar event took place when RBI, for the first time ever, announced OMOs for SDLs. That was a big driver of, spread compression for SDLs across the curve. And it was helpful, at least in the first few instances, that, they carried it out. But then it also kind of fizzled off. It never really took place again. So I think this GSAP for, a 1.0 purchase of SDLs and the likely amount in 2.0 is going to be very closely watched for any further moves on the SDL yields.
Well, Mr. Sunil Mehta of Indian Banks Association is back with us. Mr. Mehta, you've heard all of the relief measures announced by the RBI. Most of what banks had asked for has been delivered. Your thoughts on what this will mean in terms of additional lending, additional relief, and what was missed out?
I think by and large, whatsoever we were expecting, you can correlate it with what I said just before the announcement of the governor. So I think most of the announcements are on expected lines. As regards the TLTRO window that they have opened for sectors with the higher contract level, that the hospitality, aviation, what we were expecting. So that will a blend of TLTRO with the relief for a mid-segment up to 50 crore will take care of almost everybody because 90% of our borrowers are within the range of 50 crore. So that will be taken care of with this restructuring window up to 50 crore. And even at a higher level can be taken care of by the additional liquidity that is being injected at a very low cost. So even that can be taken care of by the banking system itself. So I think it's a very balanced and calibrated approach. We must compliment RBI with coming up a very calibrated release on our expected lines. So we are happy with it.
Even Mr. Sethi was saying the same thing, Mr. Mehta, except that this working capital limits could have been extended, but they haven't even shut the door. It's quite possible that it can come, that the door can still remain open. The Reserve Bank has been able to manage this inflation growth dynamics very well so far. We don't know what the non-farm payroll numbers will be and what the Fed's position will be. At the moment, the Fed's position is aligned with what the Reserve Bank is saying, that they will look through inflation. So, Abhi, the final question to you really is that how long can Reserve Bank play this balancing act? Will it be arm twisted by by global circumstances to recommend an exit or end to the accommodative policy sometime in 21?
I don't think it'll happen in 21, but I think towards the end of the year, some of the leading central banks, particularly the Fed, might start discussing the taper. For us, I think end of 21 would be too early because by that time we wouldn't have vaccinated enough. We would still be way behind the 2019 growth level. But I think around that time, I think we are in line with the underlying philosophy of monetary management of all other central banks, and we're not out of step with them. As they sort of move towards at least discussing normalization, we'll have to follow. But I'm reasonably confident for us that's not going to happen before, say, March or April 2022. Anything earlier than that would be very, very disruptive.
And maybe at the moment looks unlikely. Look at the way we're getting FX flows in the last couple of weeks. As soon as it was clear that the pandemic is ebbing, at least the second surge is ebbing, we have seen FX flows coming back strongly. So any danger from the external front now looks extremely far-fetched. Certainly something we don't have to discuss as imminent. Abik Barwa, Taimur Beg, Amandeep, Aditya Narayan and Sunil Mehta, thank you very much indeed for joining us and giving us your comments on the monetary policy. Just to summarize, just about every box has been ticked by the Reserve Bank. The bankers wanted that larger loans be restructured. Yes, it has been increased from 25 to 50 crore. Some benefit for contact-based sectors like restaurants and spas and salons. Granted. They have been asking for MSME support. SIDBI has been given more money. The bond dealers wanted more purchases by the Reserve Bank under the Government Securities Acquisition Plan 2.0. Yes, that has been increased by 20%. Growth would have to be, I mean, for credibility's sake, you have to reduce the growth figures. That has been done, and 9.5 would be the average I think you will get on the street. Inflation numbers have been, the forecasts have been upped. Now that is perhaps where maximum watch will be trained, your eyes will be trained on that. There's nothing much the Reserve Bank can do if crude prices climb the way they do and global commodity prices climb the way they do. That's the spot of bother, but that's not entirely in our hands. Well, that's the summary of the monetary policy announced by the Reserve Bank this morning at 10 a.m. We conclude this presentation, but keep it with CNBC TV 18. There's lots more updates following on the other side.